All right, so I think now you guys can probably hear me, because before you were kind of like, I can't hear a word you're saying, right? Well, that's all figured out. Technology sometimes is not our friend. But if you can hear me okay, please let me know and just drop it down hot like it's hot below. I know people are like, there's no sound, we got it good. Okay, so I got some thumbs up, so clearly you can hear me just fine. All right, so as I was trying to say before, woohoo, yes, I can hear you, yes. Gotta love technology sometimes, hey? All right, so as I was saying before, which I think is really important to be able to chat about, is the fact that sometimes we have no idea how to detox. I mean, most people don't really know how to detox. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Melissa Ramos. I'm a nutritionist with a background in Chinese medicine. I'm also the boss mama of Sexy Food Therapy, helping people feel sexy from the inside out by balancing their hormones and their digestion. So, as I mentioned before, when you guys didn't hear a word, a darn word I was saying. And that's okay. So a bunch of you guys can hear me now. So a bunch of people saying, yes, they can hear me. I mean, my volume's going up, so I'm assuming that that is a yes. All right. So what I was saying before is there a right way to detox? Is there a wrong way to detox? Is there the right season to detox? These are all questions that I continually get quite often, especially now, given that it's the spring. Everybody wants to know, how do I detox? And is this really the right thing for me? Because everyone has different goals. So in today's episode, I'm pretty thrilled because we're going to be talking about all sorts of different topics about detoxing, and I'm really going to give you the lowdown. Just going to break this down for you, what seasonal detoxing means from a Chinese medical perspective. We're also going to be talking about therapeutic foods, supplements for detoxing, the importance of detoxing for hormonal health, and the number one area, or at least not the number one, but one of the definite most important parts that people often miss when it comes to the detoxing game. So we are going to go through this. So first and foremost, everyone can hear me just fine right now, from what I can hear. Everyone's all right? Yes, you can hear me just fine? Because I'm having people saying, yes, they can hear. Okay. So here we go. When it comes to Chinese medicine, the best time to detox anything, well, the best time to detox the liver is the spring. You see, in the spring is the ultimate time for the liver. The ultimate time for the liver. So if you are going to be doing any detoxing, and I mean like really chipping at it, you shouldn't be doing it in the wintertime. And the reason for that is because when you do it in the wintertime, what ends up happening is that in the winter, your body is going, oh, I want to keep all this, warmth in, and you're just constricting. And in the summertime and in the springtime, you're like, ah, right? So when we're detoxing, our body wants to push out. But if you're doing that in the wintertime, your body is instinctively trying to hold everything in, and you begin to fight with yourself. So I always say detoxing is not a winter sport. So please, for the love of sweet Mary Mercy, do not detox in the winter. If you can hear me just fine, can you just let me know right now? Because I have some people, oh no, people are saying they can hear me just fine. All right, so we're gonna continue on. So I honestly, when I first detoxed, I did it in the winter time, and I thought I was gonna just shoot somebody. I was not a happy person. And of course, part of that is because you're obviously releasing toxins as well. But I don't believe in detoxing in the winter. I never actually have any of my ballers, who are the women in my Sexy Lady Balls program, detox in the liver time. Quite often what they're doing is I'm supporting their liver. Versus now, this coming spring, we're launching the liver and candida detox. And a part of that, is really going to be this hardcore liver detoxification. So we are definitely going to chat about that. So the one thing I do want to let you guys know is that I am going to be doing a giveaway. And so to make sure, or to at least be entered to win, you got to do several things. Number one, you have to share this live stream. Please and thank you. That would be awesome. Number two, you got to make sure that you get the skill testing question right. And I will pick one person. And please don't fight at the end if your name got missed, because people get really, really, really pissed off super easy. So, okay, diving into this. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the Chinese medical viewpoint about it, therapeutic foods and supplements for detoxing. But truthfully, even before I get to any of that, I do want to say this. A lot of people will go to the health food store and they're like, I'm going to go pick up this little boxed kit to help me detox. And I hate to say this, but half of those little detox kits are really not even enough to detox a hamster. So, and I say that with all the love in the world, but your liver has two phases of detoxification, phase 1 and phase 2. Okay? Now, if you have improper phase 1 detoxification, if things aren't working well, that your body isn't able to get those toxins to either be water soluble or chemically reactive to then go into phase 2 to do its magic, you're going to have a lot of built up toxicity in your system, hormones, toxins, etc. So it's really important to make sure that we're really addressing those two aspects of detoxification. Now, I did definitely, obviously, come prepared and write down some notes. How many of you guys, just out of curiosity, even before we begin, and thank you so much for sharing, Michelle and Cassie, really, really appreciate it. Just let me know right now, how many of you guys are actually looking to detox this spring? Any of you guys have that on your mind? If you are, please let me know. I'd love to know. So here is a bunch of things that actually can impede, or actually let's just say contribute to the amount of toxicity that's in your body. And I have loads of notes here, so you're in for a treat. Number one, if you're overweight, and roughly around 20 pounds overweight, that is going to contribute to the amount of toxic load. And the reason why is because your toxins are stored in your fat tissue. So that's definitely something to consider. Okay, so Lynn is saying yes. Karen is saying yes. Maud, Mena, Teresa says hello again. Rebecca, yes, planning to detox as Michelle. And Megan says yes, planning to once I get back home from a visit to Toronto. Sweet. Some of the other things that actually can increase our toxicity load, obviously alcohol, cigarettes. I was a smoker for years. Antibiotics. I think most people that I know have been exposed to antibiotic use for a pretty freaking long time. So that's something that is something that I would just super duper caution you on, is how many antibiotics and even just medical prescription drugs have you been on over the course of your life? Recreational drugs as well. Spiritual drugs. And I say that in quotations because even though, yes, they're supposed to open up and expand our minds quite a bit, you also have to understand that those types of herbs, whether it's peyote, etc., they have to actually be passed through your phase 1 detoxification. And now roughly about 40% of the population, believe it or not, have a gene mutation that prevents this phase 1 detoxification to function properly. And without getting too sciencey on that whole idea of how that actually goes down, I do want to point that out because some people will take various drugs. I know that LSD is now coming back, especially with the idea of microdosing. And people will take it because like, well, it's in my system for a while. But if something is in your system for a while, you also have to question, is the phase 1 detoxification working efficiently? So things to consider. The other thing, gallstones, also a really, really thing to be able to consider. And I know a lot of people that I have worked with have had gallstones. You see the fact that your liver actually filters blood every 3 minutes. That's insane. And then what it does is it just dumps all that caca into the gallbladder. And if it keeps dumping in more caca into the gallbladder consistently, all this gunk, because you're not taking care of your body, what ends up building up eventually is gallstones, or are gallstones, I should say. So those are really, really, really big things to consider. So you're looking at a ton of toxic load that ends up being built up. So how do we find out if we have this gene mutation, says Amanda. And that's actually a really good question. I'm sorry I keep on ducking down, but my little laptop, I'm just going to hold that. I'm going to hold my charger. How's that? Okay. So one of the ways that you can actually find out if you have the gene mutation, it's MTHFR, gene mutation. I've said this before, but every single time I look at it, I swear to God, I think it's saying motherfucker, gene mutation. Close your kids' ears if they're close. But you can actually check that out by ordering a test on 23andMe. So 23andMe, so not 20 spelled out, but 23andme.com. And that's essentially a genetic testing that they would do. And they would be able to figure out which gene mutation, which actually type of gene mutation that you have. And that's kind of, it's sort of important to understand which it is that you're actually struggling with. I found actually some really interesting info that you guys probably would want to know a little bit more about. But for example, if you have a caffeine intolerance, so you take like even the smallest amount and it keeps you awake at night, that is a signal that you have poor phase 1 detoxification. Okay? If you are sensitive to perfumes, or you walk down the grocery store and you're like, oh my God, the smell of those bleaches and, detergents and stuff, they're just making me feel ill. That's actually also a sign of poor phase 1 detoxification. So those are really things that you have to understand as well. What causes gallstones? So without getting too much into the topic of that, because I could actually do an entire live stream all about the reason for gallstones, but one of the causes for it is that, truthfully, if there is a lot of toxicity that is happening within the body that isn't getting filtering through properly, the gallstone is going to get affected. And most certainly, a lot of this gets heightened around pregnancy time because women's hormones start to just rage around that time. But that could be an entirely show on its own, because the amount of people who don't have a gallbladder is huge. So for example, Randy, hey Randy, says, what if you don't have a gallbladder? If you don't have a gallbladder, one, you're definitely not alone because so many people don't have one. But the fact that you don't have a gallbladder actually puts on more pressure on the liver. So it's even still important to take those bitters and to take things that are going to support that entire process because it's required. Otherwise, your liver is going to be under even more strain. I'm definitely doing this since I have lupus and a wonky thyroid, says Safi. Lynn says, I used to get migraines walking down the cleaning aisle. Oh, wow. Hey, Melissa, says Nadia. Hey, girl. So, yes, definitely check out 23andme.com. I have no affiliation to them, but it is something that I strongly suggest to understand if you have that gene mutation. It's, like I said, it's roughly about 40% of us who do. So it's no surprise why people are feeling, ill from even chemical or perfume scents, etc. Liver disease, for example, is an example of phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. So those are some things to just kind of understand. Other symptoms that there could be a lot of toxicity happening within you could be skin conditions. If you've got a bunch of amalgams in your mouth because you've had a lot of dental work, especially those mercury fillings are going to be a really big one. If you're eating a lot of conventional meat and large amounts of it, you should be eating organic because you're trying to lessen that toxic load as much as possible. And that goes for produce as well. Because when you don't, you're looking at fungicides, pesticides, larvicides, I should say. All those things can begin to accumulate in the body. And then we start to wonder, well, why is infertility ramping up so freaking much? And this is where I really wanted to be able to get into talking a little bit about the hormonal aspect of it. But I do want to answer a couple of questions because I want to make sure that this is just darn interactive. Amanda says, can this mutation be reversed? It cannot. So it just means that when you have that, Amanda, that you would have to make sure that you're taking a very bioactive form of folate, for example, or B12, that your body can actually assimilate and doesn't have to go through a conjugation process. And then those specific nutrients can actually end up helping you, as I'm having a problem with my battery pack, those nutrients can actually help you to do that detoxification process. And so it's not reversed, but it can be helped along. So it's not like, oh my God, I'm in detriment for this now. Michelle, with bitters, did I hear you say to avoid senna? Not sure if I spelled it correctly in a previous live stream. Yes. So it's really important to note that, yes, I understand that there are Swedish bitters that are out there, but also remember that Swedish bitters contain senna. Senna is a laxative. And if you are taking that on a daily, you are essentially weakening your peristaltic movement. And that is the movement that moves your poo through your large intestine. So when you're taking laxative herbs, senna, cascara sagrada, all those different types of herbs that are laxative herbs, you're weakening that peristaltic movement. So you want to make sure that you avoid that as much as humanly possible. So definitely don't do that. Randy says, I have mine, just asking for a friend. She doesn't have hers. I swear the reason why she's having problems getting pregnant is because she doesn't have it and she's extremely toxic. Yes. Is a mutation passed down through our genes and DNA? Yes. Okay. So these are some of the things to think of. From a hormonal perspective, why on earth does this matter? Okay, so if you are not conjugating these herbs, like if they're not going from phase 1 to phase 2, and from phase 1 they can become chemically reactive, or they can become water soluble, preferably water soluble, because what happens is when they're water soluble, either way, you have to try to put these little chemical hats on them for phase 2 detoxification so they can eliminate it safely through your bile. Because even though they're water soluble, they can still actually be quite harmful because they can be readily absorbed. So you want to make sure that phase 1 detoxification works, phase 2 detoxification works as well. Quite often I see people have a wonky phase 1, but it depends on your genes, which is the reason why I talk about 23andme.com. So what I often see in hormonal panels are women who you have 3 estrogens. So you have estrone, estradiol, estriol, and then you have a bunch of metabolites of these estrogens. And to try to explain this in the most layman terms possible, I always try to tell people having these estrogens, for example, these estrogen metabolites, is like almost like having children. Some of them are good and some of them can be little buggers, right? So there are some estrogen metabolites that can be really harmful if they're in high amounts. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So why do these metabolites become in super high amounts? Well, they become in high amounts because of the fact that the phase 1 detoxification isn't working properly. So these hormones get reabsorbed in the system. And as you put in more hormones, it's almost like adding into your toxic load. And this is where I begin to see women who have PCOS, women who have, ovarian cysts, fibroids, prevalence to cancer. All these things can end up happening because of the fact that you really aren't detoxifying these hormones and these toxins efficiently. And we really have to be careful of that. Fast foods obviously contain tons of chemicals, conventional foods, soy, corn, and wheat, because of the fact that they're genetically modified. They have loads of Roundup, which is known to be and has been studied to be a carcinogen. So all those things can end up building up as much as possible. Kara says, I have PCOS and I'm so out of whack. You're not the only person. Most people are trying to fight against their toxic load. And even for myself, being someone who was in the hospital, who was pumped with Dilaudid, morphine, Gravol, Tylenol 3s. I've been on Percocets in my life, morphine many times. There's so much toxicity that has been in my system that when I even look at my hormonal profile, I look at it and go, wow, I can't even believe that how high some of those metabolites are. In fact, it's really interesting. I want to actually tell you guys something else that I had discovered. If you guys give me just 1 second, I will pull it up. It was really interesting. I found here a study of a chemical plant workers in Turin, Italy, discussed above. Those who had an underactive cytochrome P450, which is actually in phase 1 detoxification, were actually higher and more susceptible to cancer. And we've seen this in areas, even in areas in the States where people were exposed to high levels of toxicity. Some people actually got cancer, whereas other people didn't. And then when they were studied, they were actually found to see that one person had the gene mutation, whereas the other person did not. So the thing that I always suggest people to do is to detox every single year. I don't agree with detoxing during the winter time. A lot of people will advocate it all year round. I think that in the winter time, that's the time of the kidneys. And that according to Chinese medicine, it's all about the adrenals and it's all about the kidneys, but you could also sort of wrap adrenals in that because the adrenals are on top of the kidneys. And that's the time to root and ground yourself and to take care of yourself, to get more sleep. It gets darker earlier. Those are really important things to plant your roots as much as possible. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing anything to support your liver or anything to support any of your detoxification process. It just doesn't mean that you're going to be doing it super hardcore at that point, to the point that your body is literally screaming because of the fact that it's so freaking cold outside and you're trying to detoxify when you're going against the body's innate response. And that essentially is my viewpoint on that. And a lot of people who are in Chinese medicine would actually agree with that. Carly says, I have hypothyroidism along with anxiety and depression. Well, hypothyroidism is interesting because that really has to do, a big part of it has to do with the adrenals. So, and that really isn't the discussion we're talking about today, but hypothyroidism, I've never, ever, ever seen it not implicated with the adrenals, but quite often not treated along with the adrenals. Michelle says, I just found out I have PCOS, I have Hashimoto's, and she has the gene mutation. I eat really clean, but I'm getting other tests done to see what's going on. So you certainly can get other tests done, but the reality is that you probably will have to go on a B complex that is indicated specifically for that gene mutation. And they do exist. So it doesn't mean that all hope is lost. You just have to find which gene mutation you actually have. Came in a little bit late. Is 23andMe the detox thing to do this? No. So 23andMe is a genetic testing that you can get. It's just a test. But I do want to be able to mention to you guys a couple of things. Number one, I do want to let you guys know that I do have another... All right, so you guys can hear me for some reason. There we go. Yay! I don't know why my little system is just like getting all wonky today. But anyways, as I was saying, I am hosting this free 5-day detox challenge. It isn't going to be a crazy full-fledged challenge, or a crazy full-fledged detox, I should say. It is, however, going to be a really incredible 5-day kickstart into a detox. It's going to prepare you for what it means to detox, because I think most people don't know. They dive in, they maybe don't do the entire thing, or they do it and they don't really know even how to get off of it, how to get on it. So this is really going to help to prep you. It's 5 days of coaching, which is going to be awesome. 5 days of coaching. We're going to be having a cooking class that's going to be happening in there, talking way more about detoxification, because there's only so much that I can speak about that now. But we are definitely going to be breaking all that down. So definitely, if you haven't, the link is below, as you can see. The link is also above in this description of this Facebook post. So those are some big things that I want to make sure that I point out to you as much as possible. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about supplements and foods for detoxing, shall we? The number one foods that I really think that you guys have to really pay attention to is fiber-rich foods. Super duper duper darn important. And the reason why that I say this is because literally, and here's an actual quote, 99% of what is excreted in the bile, so bile is essentially the fluid that comes out of the gallbladder, and it ends up going into your poop, and it holds all your toxins. It holds all your hormones, or not all your hormones, but your toxins and your excess hormones, I should say. That's a better way to describe it. But essentially, it's this river of stuff, of gunk, of stuff that you want to eliminate. But the problem is, if it goes into your stool and you can't eliminate, that's a problem. And that ends up building up because you have capillaries that are attached to your large intestine, and guess what ends up happening? Sucks it back up, goes back into your bloodstream, and your liver has one extra job to now try to filter out that blood. Remember, the liver is filtering blood all the time, just on autopilot. It has literally 560 functions, the liver, which is pretty incredible. So 99% of what is excreted in the bile, so toxins and hormones, are often reabsorbed due to insufficient dietary fiber intake. 99%! I don't know about you, but to me, that is absolutely insane. 99%. So it just goes to show that the majority of us aren't actually having enough fiber-rich foods at all. We're eating processed junk. We're getting a lot of refined foods in our diet. We might be getting too much animal product. I do actually eat meat, but for me specifically, I always feel that meat should be like a condiment. Your vegetables should be the star player in all your dishes. So if you're not getting enough fiber, you can't poop properly. And pooping is incredibly important. You should be going to poop at least once a day. Some people will tell you twice a day. I think at least once a day is sufficient, given that that one bowel movement is a good, healthy bowel movement. It's not like little pellet poops, but you are going to the bathroom properly. So really, really, really important. Because people are going, wow, crazy. Michelle's like, so true. It is so true. So that's a huge, huge, huge one. And also, you want to make sure when we talk about fiber and fiber-rich foods, the vegetables that you really want to concentrate are those that contain indole-3 carbanols. So broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, all those different types of foods are really, really rich in indole-3 carbinol, which helps to excrete estrogens. Okay? It really also helps to the phase 1 pathway of detoxification from your liver. When you've got all those excess estrogens that are floating around because of the fact, or getting reabsorbed because of the fact that phase 1 detoxification didn't work properly. And this is when we see a really high prevalence of fibroids. So if you have a history of smoking, if you have a history of alcohol, binge drinking, recreational drugs, prescription drugs, processed foods, all those different types of recreational activities, then it would be well worth getting the 23andMe test done, which is something that I am definitely going to be getting done because I'm curious if I have the gene mutation. So those types of foods are going to be huge. The other type of food that people often don't associate with poor liver health, and I know some people are going to get on me with like pitchforks, whole grains. And I say this in the regard is that if you are consuming excess whole grains, and I'm not talking that whole grains are bad, that's not what I'm saying. So before everyone gets their pitchforks out, just know that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you overconsume grains, what happens is grains, any starch, turns into sugar in the body. And that essentially turns into what's called glucose. Okay? Too much of this. And we start to see this with when Dr. Ansel Keys actually falsified his studies and came out and said, you know, whole grains are amazing and fat is really, really bad for you. And, you know, saturated fat causes all these arterial problems in the body. We ended up later realizing that these studies were false. And now there hasn't been anyone that's come out and said conclusively, but if you look at obesity epidemics in the US and in Canada, they began to climb around that time when the messaging was whole grains are amazing and then get rid of the fat. So everybody began over consuming the whole grains thinking it was good for them. So what I'm saying is not that whole grains are bad, but the excess amount of them are bad. There's going to be times where I'm going to want a grain bowl for breakfast, especially in the wintertime because I'm freezing and it's something that my body is just calling for. I'll eat it. Zero guilt. I don't label myself. I'm not a vegan. I'm not paleo. I'm not grain-free. I eat according to myself because I am human. And I suggest that for pretty much everybody. But when you have this so much glucose is running through your system and sugar, especially from refined foods and lots of sugary foods, what you're going to find is that that's actually going to clog your liver. What clogs your liver is not fat. What clogs your liver is sugar, excess toxins. All those different types of things are going to really put a huge load on the liver. Excrete all estrogens or just the bad ones? I'm low in estrogen. Okay, so here is the thing to understand, is that you have 3 estrogens. Now, I wouldn't say excrete all of them because some of your good estrogens, like estrone, for example, like E1, E2, are actually helpful for you in the sense that they help to protect your heart. So as we get older, ladies, our estrogen levels will end up dipping, and that's when we can get random itching, we can get vaginal dryness, we can end up having, I think I said hot flashes possibly. All those are signs of low estrogen. And like I said, it protects the heart. So you don't want to excrete them because you need estrogen. But my point is, do we have excess amounts of the ones that we shouldn't have? Excess amounts of the metabolites that we shouldn't have? Because there are various metabolites that estrogen has or can turn into. So I always call them estrogen's children. It's kind of like the easiest way I can explain them without getting too techie and losing people about this. but you really don't want to have an excess amount of the bad ones. I hope that that makes sense. Karen says, when I have a healthier stool rather than constipation, I have bright red blood around the stool. Is that from toxins? No. So if you have, I would check with your medical doctor on it, always to be on the safe side. But if you're looking at your stool and you have bright red blood, it's normally from an external fissure around the anus, a potential hemorrhoid, but usually because it's bright red, it's going to be usually an anal fissure. But check with your medical doctor as well to make sure. And you also have to make sure that you're drinking enough water and having enough healthy fats, because if there's too much pressure while that stool is coming out, a fissure could form. So also elevate your knees as well. So that's just something to be able to be mindful of. But those are definitely the types of foods that you want to consume. So lots of high fiber foods. Water. I know this is basic, people. I get it. But water, we're made up of 70% of water. If you're not drinking water, if you're actually not putting in that agua, those toxins can't come out, because remember, your kidneys is also another filtering system. So if you're dehydrated, the second that you actually feel thirsty, know this from now on, that when you feel that way, that is essentially your body saying, I've been thirsty for some time, so can you just get on it? It's not that, all of a sudden I'm thirsty. No, that's not it at all. What it actually is it is your body saying, I've been thirsty for some time, please give me water. You've been dehydrated for a while now. And that's not a good thing, because just imagine a lot of those toxins that are supposed to be filtered through your kidneys are not being able to be filtered through. So remember, when you're trying to detox one part of your body, like the liver, which is what we're doing coming up on June 13th, is the actual liver and Candida detox that's launching. But before that, I'm doing this free challenge, which I'm just going to post this up again. Hopefully, yeah, you guys can hear my sound. Yes. Make sure that you have joined if you have not already. I think we have close to about 2,000 people so far in the group, which is incredible. But it is open to everyone, women and men alike. I'm needing to take estrogen for an autoimmune progesterone disorder to avoid the progesterone spike. An allergic reaction. Is it okay to take DIM I3C while taking it? If you are under the care of a medical doctor, I would pass that by them first. So I don't want to be recommending that to you, Kristen, without knowing your entire case, because I don't know your case. So I definitely would pass that by your medical doctor just to be on the safe side. And thank you for all the hearts, guys. I have dry mouth, so I feel thirsty all the time. If you feel thirsty all the time, and it's almost like insatiable thirst, and you're like, oh, I could drink all the water, and I even when I drink water, I feel thirsty. That's actually a sign that your cortisol levels, so your stress hormones, are elevated. So if your stress hormones are elevated all the time, so you have high cortisol levels, you are going to be thirsty all the time. So that is an indicator that there needs to be stress management. And while you can do things with herbs, a big part of stress management is mindset. And it's usually the number one, and this actually brings me to my last point that I want to speak about today, that yes, there are factors with detoxification. There's poor phase 1 detoxification. There's the gene mutation that I discussed. There's not enough fiber in the diet. There's dehydration. There's environmental toxins. 20 pounds overweight will also add to your toxicity load. Antibiotics, pesticides, fungicides, all this stuff. And I know this sounds overwhelming, which leads me to stress. If you go and do a detox, and I see this all the time, and these are women who come in to work with me, and they're like, ah! And they're super reactive, and they're angry, and they're just really highly stressed out. Your body cannot detox if you are just wigging out and you're stressed out. It's the reason why that all the work that I do with women always has either, a meditation recording attached to it, a yoga nidra recording attached to it, which is not actually like yoga, but like it's actually like a laying down and listening to a recording, because you have to work on your stress levels. If you don't, that actually impedes your detox efforts substantially. And you're going to try and try and try, but that cortisol is going to block it out. It's going to be, not just block it out, but it's going to make it really, really difficult. So you have to be careful. Nadia, I get reoccurring fissures. Sometimes the smallest stools can aggravate it. Any recommendations for that? I'm increasing my water and fiber intake. It makes me stress, which ends up being a vicious cycle. I'd have to look at your diet, honestly, and that's probably the first place I would start with you, Nadia, is what's your diet like? Quite often what I see with people, like I mentioned, is everyone's over-consuming so many grains, or they go from one extreme to the other extreme, and then they fall off the bandwagon, and then they kick themselves in the butt. But I would say for you is, are you having enough healthy fats in your diet? And if you are, have you tried adding in a fish oil? So those are things that I probably would suggest without knowing very much about your case. Oh, my mom has that too, says Kara. Okay. So those are big things, but water is a huge one. Stress is a massive one. All right. So I know that a bunch of you guys have signed on to this, to my free spring detox challenge. Like I said, there's probably about 2,000 people that are signed up already. And we are going to be kicking things off on Monday. Really? Hey. Do you have to do this on a live stream? Go. Thank you. Mommy's doing a live stream, buddy. We have a bunch of people just laughing at me right now. This is what happens. At any rate, this is what happens when you're doing a live stream from your apartment. Anything can happen. Lynn says he's excited about the detox launching. Too cute. Dog is excited about the detox. So cute. Honestly, right? Anything can happen. Anything. Look at he's like, he just doesn't look impressed. Bodhi. Like, honestly, you little jerk. Okay. So I'm going to recap this. And when I recap this, I'm going to be asking a skill testing question. And if you get this right, you will get something for free. Let me show you. You ready? Now he's sulking on the couch. He's totally sulking on the couch. Randy, he's not a great guard dog. He sucks. He thinks he's good. A bit off topic, but I have PCOS and saw palmetto. I'm not going to answer that because we're not on that topic. Okay. He's sulking because he's embarrassed. He probably is. All right, so here. See this? St. Francis, Hepato-DR for liver health. Oh, yeah, baby. I'm giving away a bottle. There we go, I'm back in focus. I'm giving away a bottle of this for free. This is going to be super helpful because it does have milk thistle, which helps to regenerate liver cells. There are many detoxifying herbs here. This is part of my plan for the liver and candida detox, which is the full paid program that's launching on the 13th of this month. Before that, actually, we have the spring detox challenge, which is the link down above, or down below, I should say. So, if you guys are ready for this, number one, I want you to please make sure that you share this, because even if people watch it there afterwards and they're like, hey, I watched it, they can watch it, and that'd be awesome. Share it. So that would be first and foremost. And then the second thing is I'm going to ask you a skill testing question. So, see how well you guys have been listening, shall we? I love the fact that the comedic part of my entire live stream was the fact that my dog went AWOL. And then just was like, oh. Like, really? Really? Okay. All right. I'm picking the question. Are you ready? Are you ready? You know what? Here, I made a decision. I'm going to do 2 giveaways. 2 of these bad boy giveaways, okay? It's going to be the capsules, okay? Because this also comes in tincture. Either one's totally good. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but what's really, really, really neat about these guys is, unlike a lot of herbal companies, they don't just put their like dry herbs into a capsule, St. Francis. What they actually do is they dehydrate the tincture and they put it into a capsule. So you're getting literally such potency in this. It's unbelievable. I didn't know that before. And that was a huge difference because I always used to get tinctures because I'm like, I don't want a bunch of capsules with dead herbs in it. Not the case with these guys. So never, ever, ever get private label stuff. Yeah, people are going, wow, isn't that the most coolest fact ever? I'm a bit of a nerd with that stuff, but I think that that is so amazing. So please don't buy. There's so many tinctures out there, or sorry, capsules out there and stuff, and they're just crap. They're bought, they're private label shit. Sorry, but it's true. Okay, so 2 skill testing questions. Number 1. It's the first person to answer this. And you guys have to promise you're not going to get pissed off if you don't win. Or if you're like, called that first. If there's a typo, you technically didn't get it right. So don't get upset. We are all adults here because sometimes women have gotten really pissed off. I'm not even kidding. So the first question is, if you, I was going to do true or false. True or false? If you have 0 issues metabolizing coffee, meaning it does not keep you up at night, even the smallest amounts, your liver's phase 1 detoxification is working well. So you don't have problems staying up at night. Is that true or false? So I'm going to repeat this again, although I'm checking this out. So Jen says false. Amanda says false. So I'm going to repeat this again just for everybody. If you drink coffee and you have no issues going to bed at night, your liver's detoxification pathways are working optimally. Your phase 1 is working optimally. True or false? We got false, false, false. The answer is true. And the winner goes to Michelle Zake. So, and I was a bit of a curveball. I'm sorry about that. So before, I told you guys that sometimes even the smallest amounts of coffee can make you feel awake at night. And if it makes you feel awake at night, then your phase 1 liver detoxification is not working properly. The true and false question was, if I drink coffee, even the smallest amounts, and I can go to bed no problem, my phase 1 detoxification is working optimally. True or false? And the answer was true. So I have Michelle answered true. And I'm going through. And Mena, I don't have your answer before hers at all on this. So the person that goes to it is Michelle. I said true first. I have it here. I can even show you. This is when people get upset with me. She actually answered both. Yes, but what I have here as the first one, this is where we always get. This is when I'm going to stop doing giveaways because then people get upset. And then we start to have people getting angry. So I'm going to go through this. No. So the person who answered it was Michelle Zaki. That's so cool. I have Jen said false. Amanda said false. Julie said false. Lisa said false. Heather Gosia. This is exactly what I have here on my phone. And I can take a screen grab and show it to y'all. But we are not going to get into a fight here because I'm not picking and choosing people. Okay? So I don't know if it's the way Facebook is loading it up or not. If it's the case, I'm literally trying to do the best I humanly possibly can. So in that regard, I'm going to do the second skill testing question, and I'm actually going to load up it from my... This is when I'm not going to do these, because then people get upset, and I hate it. Yeah, no, she said false. Michelle said false, but Michelle also said true first. Yeah. Okay. All right. It has to be Facebook uploading it. Don't feel bad. Okay, so we're going to do another question. And this is what's going to happen. I'm going to see it on my phone. Mine showed up first on mine. I'm telling you what it showed. I don't care what it showed on yours. You know what? Should I do one more? Should I do one more giveaway? Because if I do one more giveaway, I don't want people getting angry. I'm literally showing verbatim what I'm showing on my phone of who said yes and who said true and who said false first. Okay? So if everyone's gonna get pissy about it, I'm not doing a second giveaway. I don't have to do it. But we all have to act like adults on this one. So let me know. Okay? So yes, 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 we're good. Cool. Because one time I had someone who literally lost her noodle on me and private messaged me and just went off on a tangent. Okay. I think why people are upset is because she submitted both answers. But she submitted the first answer, which was true first, and that's what loaded up first. Okay, here's the thing. Let it go, people. I feel like singing the Frozen song. No shit. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one more giveaway. I'm not going to announce it right now. No. Not going to answer it. I'm going to pick someone at random. And it's going to be no favorites. But I'm going to pick someone because I don't want to go through this. I said this first. I said it first because then I feel like I'm like we're all adults here, people. So, no. Mindset, why stress over it? No kidding. They aren't that expensive. No shit. Okay. Let's all breathe together. One more time. All right. Here we go. Last question for another free bottle of St. Francis Hepato DR that I'm not going to announce right now. In fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this so open. I'm not even going to pick right now. I'm going to wait until even replay people see it. And then I'm going to pick. And then I'm going to announce it on my fan page. And then that way, none of y'all can get mad at me. They're just going to get picked. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay. So, should I give you guys a harder question? I almost want to give you a harder question. No, I'm going to give you this question. How many pounds of weight would equal extra toxicity in the body? So, how many pounds would equal extra toxicity in the body? At least how many pounds? Okay? All right, so you guys all can write down your answers. Those who are watching on the replay, write down your answers. Because now you are entered to win this too. Yeah, that's how it's going to go down. Kick ass, says Julie. You know it. All right, so now it's going to be a free game for those who are watching on the replay, those who are watching live. Put in your answer down below, and I will answer it tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. 7 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to announce the winner. Yep. I'm still breathing. I love it. All right, guys. That was another episode of SFT TV. We talked all about toxicity. I really, really hope that you can join this free challenge. It's starting up on Monday. And if you can't get your supplements in on time for Monday, don't panic. Don't panic. It's okay. You can start a little bit late. All right? But you still got the whole weekend anyways. So, join the challenge. Link down below. Clickable link above. Come on over. I'd love to see you. We're doing 5 days of coaching with cooking classes. So excited. I hope you can join us. Love to see you because there's going to be way more information. There's only so much I can do on this live stream. And go from there. All right, guys. I love you. Have an awesome Thursday evening. From my sexy heart to yours. Peace out.